Welcome, everyone, to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. You deserve to feel good. We all deserve to feel good. And we have an amazing, exciting show for you today. But before we get started on our show, I just want to bring up a video about what we do in the cannabis space as nurses, and then we will get started. Okay, I'm waiting.
Please help me change the paradigm of healthcare.
Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship. And what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors, and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine.
It's about education. It's about empowerment. It's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
So here we are, growing in health, growing in cannabis. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sherry Mack, and I'm the Chief Nursing Officer and co-founder of Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse, Vice President of Nursing at Bloom Hemp CBD, and I'm a cannabis nurse, patient, advocate, activist, and a very passionate podcaster here to change the paradigm of healthcare. This is my 8th year podcasting, The Green Nurse Living Your Best Life. I started podcasting in 2018 when the National Council of State Boards of Nursing came out with a call to action that all nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. I started podcasting to share compelling stories of healing and to decrease stigma, since I too use cannabis as a medicine. So cannabis nursing has been recognized as a specialty, and nurses are truly making an impact on advocating for the safe therapeutic use of cannabis by teaching on the endocannabinoid system and how to optimize cannabis as a medicine for health, healing, and wellness purposes. As plant medicine nurses, our role extends beyond recommending cannabis and hemp products. We strive to provide alternative solutions for multiple modalities that support the endocannabinoid system, promoting health, healing, and overall wellness for all people. And so very, very excited today. Elizabeth and I are really excited to be writing for the Cannigma and to have a cannabis nursing footprint on their amazing platform with our educational programs, nurse coaching, and Bloom Hemp CBD products in their marketplace. So please check out the blog post I wrote about the Cannigma in the show notes. You can see that down below. You'll be able to get a lot more information, and there's all the links that go right back to the Cannigma. So today I have the honor and opportunity to interview with the new Cannigma owners, James Hourigan and Nick Papadopoulos. Very, very excited to have them both here on today. Jim is a veteran executive and entrepreneur with deep experience leading high growth companies across the consumer and e-commerce and cannabis industries. As former CEO and COO for category defining brands, Jim has built a career on transforming visionary ideas into operational excellence. His leadership in companies such as LeafLink and Cannicraft help elevate California's regulated cannabis market, driving innovation, compliance, and credibility across the sector. At the Cannigma, Jim focuses on scaling mission-driven media and educational platforms that advance science-based understanding, consumer trust, and sustainable growth across the global cannabis ecosystem. Then we have Nick. Nick is a strategist, an ecosystem builder, and a storyteller at the intersection of cannabis science and culture. With more than 2 decades of experience in digital strategy and brand development and industry transformation, Nick has partnered with leading cannabis companies, including Soma Rosa Farms, Garden Remedies, SC Labs, Groundworks Industries, and Cannicraft to bridge education, advocacy, and commerce. His worth reflects a belief that credible information and creative storytelling are essential catalysts for a smarter, more sustainable cannabis future. So welcome to the show, gentlemen. It is an honor to have you both on.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thanks, Sherry.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Sherry.
So I want to hear from each of you about your interest in purchasing the Cannigma. So, what inspired you both to come together and decide to purchase the Cannigma?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll dive in here. And it was less about a goal to purchase anything and more about in October of 2024, I believe last year, I was a reader of the Cannigma, very passionate for over 7 years in the writing and the quality of the education that Cannigma was publishing. And I was lying in bed, I think it was about 5 a.m., and a note came out that kind of tore at my heartstrings a little bit. The CEO of the Cannigma announced that the ends weren't meeting, and in 30 days or so, it was going to close. Now, I've been a social impact entrepreneur, really working to change systems and paradigms, I think like you mentioned that in your opening video. And when I looked at the Cannigma and saw the fact that all that content, all that priceless, valuable information that people were relying on for that help, that in 30 days that might not be around, I was compelled to reach out and say, listen, I've been there before. I've had to close a beautiful vision almost overnight at times, and I wish I would have had a sounding board. So I reached out to see if I could be a sounding board. A few weeks later, got a call back. We started brainstorming, and it was at that time less about a purchase and more about let's keep this beautiful community and platform alive that you were a part of and had benefited from prior, and so many others. And then at that time, not knowing actually what to do, Jim, who I worked with at Cannicraft, he's been a partner, an employer, a leader that's been along my side since 2017. He said, here's some ideas for how we can make this happen. Keep the vision alive, honor the community, keep the platform going. And he was instrumental in helping me see, here's a way we could do it. We make an acquisition, yes, a purchase, but then we would move on to just really try to revitalize and grow this community. And here we are today. It's been a labor of love. The number one goal has been to keep this community going. And as a community builder and ecosystem builder, I'm just so excited about that right there, just to see that impact and that paradigm shift, that information challenging stigmas be here and not die, basically. So that's our goal.
Very good. Right, Jim, how about you? What was your draw to the Cannigma?
Yeah, similar to Nick, I was a fan of the Cannigma before this became an opportunity. But perhaps more importantly, I've always been a fan of the plant and its healing abilities and the like. Back when I was growing up, I played football on Friday nights, and the weekend was ruined because you felt bad the rest of the next 2 days. Well, I was then introduced to cannabis, and all of a sudden I felt better after a game. I knew there was something there, but I didn't have the research or the opportunity to really share the healing properties of the plant. So when the Cannigma was there, I was a reader. When it became available, I didn't, like Nick, want it to go away. And so we've been fortunate. We've been able to continue to build the community, build it with you, Sherry and Elizabeth. We're really excited.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. It's really
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. So how about your backgrounds with in the other cannabis industry sector that you both have? I'll let you each answer separately. So how did your experience with what you've done in the cannabis sector with the other businesses help you to prepare for the Cannigma?
Good question. For me, it actually started before cannabis. I'd actually spent a good decade of my life working in local and community sustainable food systems. And I had built a media and community exchange platform called Crop Mobster that really gave me a great experience bringing stakeholders together around how to make impact in the world of food and health. And building those local systems. And a big part of that was storytelling, and a big part of that was solid sound information and really inspiring communities to do something special. And so that had some degree of success. And I had met leaders in the cannabis industry at that time. And when they started growing, it started with a company called Cannacraft in Northern California, which had created Care by Design brand, Absolute Extracts, and many others. That's when I was asked to come into the cannabis industry, bring my skills from food systems, agriculture, sustainability, public policy, and help grow that company. And at the same time, there was a wonderful media organization that's still doing great work today, Project CBD, Dr. Martin Lee and team. And I was just really inspired by not only the for-profit aspect, but the sound scientific information aspect. So since then, I've worked on numerous cannabis initiatives on the marketing side, the business development side, the startup side, mergers and acquisitions, turnarounds, and just worked in a lot of different areas. And so when this came up, my combination of non-cannabis and cannabis experience, it just felt like, wow, this is something that I could do nuts and bolts of a business and a community project that involved at root sound information, growing a thriving community, and really publishing compelling and useful writing. At the end of the day, it's about who's reading, who's needing this information, if can we continue to add value to their lives and careers. So it's been an honor to take on this project with Jim and many others, including yourself and Elizabeth.
Yeah. All right, Jim, how about you? Let's talk about your, I mean, you're a veteran executive. You've done a ton in your life. How did all in your life prepare you for the Cannigma? How did all of?
Yeah, well, again, being a big fan of the plant itself has been with me for my life. And so I've had the great experience of working in medical devices, consumer packaged goods industries for global billion-dollar corporations. I was living in Vancouver, Canada, when cannabis became legal in Canada. And I said, wow, what an opportunity to be able to take my experiences from these industries that didn't have the stigma that cannabis does, to be able to take those experiences and make it a very professional business that we were going to be able to share with the community all the great things. And so throughout my career, I've been preparing for the Cannigma. Now we really have the opportunity, working with people like yourself, Sherry and Elizabeth, to really take that to the next level. So that's where it gets very exciting for me.
Oh gosh, it is. And it's been amazing working with you guys and writing. So we'll get into that in a minute. But let's go to the next question too. And I think you can both answer this. How do you make science about cannabis easy for people to understand on the Cannigma platform?
Well, I'd say the first thing is that we had a lot of help. The Cannigma founders, Dr. Cody Peterson, who's the chief science officer, who was working with the Cannigma much before Jim and I arrived, Alana, all the advisors. These are the key to the Cannigma puzzle. Jim and I are kind of like facilitators and conduits. And so I think the magic sauce, and we have to earn it each and every day, each and every article, is to be working with great contributors and partners who not only, like Jim, love the plant and have experienced the benefits personally in their own lives and families, but also have the advanced training and expertise in nursing, in science and pharmacology. And I think the Cannigma has been successful to date because it's found a little bit of the magic touch to be able to understand the deep science, understand the endocannabinoid system, for example, and at the same time understand who we're speaking to, a collection of individuals, consumers, businesses, and do that translation work. And so you hit the nail on the head. It's very challenging to do. And I'd say a great example is the work that you and Elizabeth do when you submit articles. You really are working hard to translate. Is it always easy or perfect? It's always a challenge. But I think that's the challenge and magic sauce of this is how to be a great translator. And for us, it's less about Jim and I. It's more about creating an environment where great people, advisors, experts in their own right come together, and they've got that knack for writing and publishing and making sure it's readable. At the end of the day, that's, I think, the goal.
Nice. Jim?
Yeah, very similar to Nick. And what's really, I think, something that we've hit upon with the Cannigma that works very well is we will get articles submitted or even articles that have been on the Cannigma for a long time that people haven't seen. And what we do is bring that up, and Nick actually takes it upon himself to make sure that these articles, posts, blogs are readable and they're understandable for our audience. And I think that's part of it that Nick makes it not simple, but easier for people to consume.
Yeah. And we're going to take a tour of the Cannigma website before we end the podcast so everyone can take a peek at everything.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we'll do a tour of it for sure. But, you know, this will just bring me into the next question. It's kind of was down on the list, but I'm going to kind of bring it up because I am a nurse and we are working with you guys. Why do you think nurses are so important in the movement of cannabis as medicine and as well as, you know, including us in your platform?
Good question. I'm going to go straight to family. My sister's a nurse. She's got a nursing degree from UCSF. My Aunt Jenny's a nurse. My mom, one of my earliest memories of my mom was in a hospital in Corvallis, Oregon, and she worked there. I don't think she was a nurse, but she was involved in taking care of patients and being of support. I also did pre-med work in college, and that was my trajectory before entrepreneurship and all my different wild social entrepreneurship ideas happened. But when I think about nurses, I think about the front lines of healthcare, being the translators, again, of medical science, of the latest in research, the latest of discoveries to everyday patients. Let's face it, not everyone can access a PhD doctor. We need people who are just as trained, maybe sometimes less compensated, and maybe just as knowledgeable to be able to deliver the quality healthcare and everyday service that people in the world need. So I have a deep respect for nurses. Like I said, my family, many family members are nurses. And I think when it comes to cannabis, we just have this huge opportunity right now to where the medical system is starting to formally accept cannabis. Nursing profession, what we've learned from you, is starting to officially accept cannabis as a healing modality. And we're right on that transitionary cusp of having it formally included in the medical system. And so I think nursing is critical, along with physical therapists, along with PhD doctors. Cody's a pharmacist. Every specialty in the healthcare system, which often is very fragmented and siloed, has a hand to play. But I think nurses are special to my heart because I think it's one of the more accessible professions within healthcare that everyone can access. And I would just hope that you agree with 20% of what I said, because that just came straight from the heart of my own experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jim, how about you? What makes nurses so special?
Similar to Nick, I had family members that were nurses. My aunt was a nurse, and she worked at the Leonard Hospital in Troy, New York. And, it's just about the compassion and how empathetic that nurses are to patients. And she eventually moved on to be the administrator of the hospital. And she would always tell me the most valuable people here are the nurses. And I've always agreed with that. And when I was in medical devices, I had the opportunity and the honor really with working with nurses all the time. And sometimes people forget, this is 24/7, okay, that nurses have to be there. They have to be on the floor. They're working. If it's holidays, if it's snowing, they're working. So for me, it's really an honor to work with nurses.
Right. So I'm gonna plug nurses really quickly for the cannabis space. So when it comes to all licensed medical professionals, and this is some of our viewers don't know this, nurses are the only ones that have taken a positive stance when it comes to cannabis as medicine. As a matter of fact, so the American Medical Association, every time I go to their website, I look, I peek, they still see cannabis as a drug of abuse. We're hoping that's going to change over time, but they only approve of FDA approved medicine. And it's really, really hard to get an FDA pathway to a botanical plant. So that's the hesitancy we see also because of scheduling. But nurses, on the other hand, pharmacists are actually doing some great work. My daughter's actually in her first year of pharmacy school, and her second week of class, they were teaching on the endocannabinoid system. So I was very impressed with that. But nurses, on the other hand, have approved of cannabis as a medicine, have taken a positive stance for the past 20 years. The American Nurses Association, which represents 5 million nurses, has officially recognized cannabis nursing as a specialty. Nurses at some point in time will be able to sit and get board certified, which is amazing. Cannabis nurses have risen and have written books. Like, again, we have this, the Journal of Nursing Regulation that came out, 64-page document back in 2018 that states that all nurses, nurse practitioners, nursing students, master's prepared nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. Then we have this book that was written by a lot of different nurses, Clark's Cannabis, a handbook for nurses. This is the first cannabis nursing textbook that was published. And this was written by Carrie Clark. She was the overall editor, but a lot of cannabis nurses. I actually contributed to chapter 9, the cannabis nurse experience. Then we have cannabis nurses. Elizabeth wrote this amazing book, Cannabis for Health, Become a Coach. And then the scope and standards of cannabis nursing was actually published last year, which is the who, what, when, where, and why of cannabis nursing, how and why we do the things that we do in the space. So, and nurses, just one last plug for nurses overall, for 23 years in a row, the Gallup poll has deemed nurses as the most trusted profession. So nurses, I think, will play a huge role in cannabis advocacy, as well as fulfilling a lot of different roles in the space as we continue to see, hopefully, rescheduling and descheduling happening over time. We'll see more and more nurses play a big, huge part in it. So leading to my next question is, what's been the biggest change you've seen? So in the amount of years that you guys have been in the cannabis arena, what's the biggest change you've seen in how people talk about cannabis? Nick, you go first.
Well, I think the first biggest change I've seen is change itself in cannabis industry, because it's just a constantly, it's an industry and a community where it's inspired, like Jim says, by the plant. There are hurdles each and every month, every year, to just have this plant be available to people through legal mechanisms. And so I'd say, almost a little jokingly and jestingly, is that the biggest change I've seen is that change is a constant in itself. And then, but at the same time, one of the things that draws me to the industry is all walks of life come together. I've seen NFL sports players, physicians, nurses, people living out in the woods, doing their thing, legacy growers. It's such a neat community because so many different walks of life merge around this love of the plant. And so I think at the end of the day, the biggest change that I've seen, and I haven't been involved in cannabis for too long, 2017, late 16 was my introduction. Again, I had come from other lines of work and other passions. Yep. I'd see the biggest change is that I'm seeing it talked about in almost every circle. Like, I can take you to ranches in Western United States where you're talking to the most conservative people you've ever met. And at the end of the day, guess what? They've got joint pain or chronic pain in their wrists or elbows. And guess what? Guess what's helped them? A cannabis pain cream or a tincture and stuff like that. So I'm just really, I think the biggest change I've seen is the acceptability that most people want this to be a normalized medicine. They want stigma to be removed. And it's just, the conversation is more open and transparent, and it's being talked about. So that's what comes up for me. The biggest change is change itself, and then also just how open people are and talking about it in all walks of life.
All right. Jim, what about you?
Yeah, I would be similar to Nick. I find that the biggest change now is that when people find out I'm in the cannabis industry, they want to know more. They're excited to know. They want it to be destigmatized, right? They realize the benefits of it. We can see that with how many states have now gone legal with medical and or recreational products. So people are interested, and so the biggest change is less stigmatism, but it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what do you see about rescheduling and descheduling? I know this isn't a question I had on the thing, but just want to know your opinion on what your thoughts are on that happening anytime soon.
That's a my crystal ball is in the storage container at the moment. But definitely, I'll be the first to admit I'm not fully qualified to answer that question. But my intuition and instinct, and why we're so excited about cannabis and this project, the Cannigma, and this community, is that at the end of the day, it's about healing and relief. It's about helping alleviate suffering and bring joy. And at the end of the day, I think cannabis and the plant is truly a medicine. And so my biggest hope and my instinct tells me that if anything transformative is going to happen with scheduling, descheduling, my bet is on the field of medicine and pharmacies and being able to prescribe this to people and hopefully being able to have insurance cover it and things like that. So that's my hope. That's also my bet. And that's why we're so excited also to be working with the Cannigmas. We feel at the end of the day, if you get rid of the capitalism and you get rid of all the different ways and motivations people have for this, I think at the end of the day, cannabis is healing. And the most logical next step that we can take and that we want to encourage is that cannabis is normalized in the medical and healing professions.
Yes, completely agree. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, I think a couple things need to happen before descheduling or lower scheduling. One is the Safe Banking Act. I think that needs to come into play because that then allows for just normalized economics within the industry. And I think from there you would see interstate commerce and then finally the descheduling. Unfortunately, it's easy as a representative, senator, or whatever to say no. There's not a lot of downside there yet. So we still have a lot of work in front of us to be able to get there.
Yep, absolutely. So next question is, how does your work at the Cannigma help patients and even providers feel more confident using cannabis for wellness? And what does cannabis for wellness mean to you? That's a good question right there.
To me, in my own personal journey, cannabis for wellness means sleep and stress relief. And
Yeah.
so in my own life, I'm not a heavy cannabis user, but a little plug here, Soulful is a top California community-oriented, sort of wellness-oriented brand. And I tell you, running the Cannigma and a bunch of other companies and projects too, like sleep and wellness is key to me. And my own wellness in life has been transformed with cannabis in concert with good exercise, diet, and other keys to making life good. And so I forget the rest of the question, but that's what inspired me to
Yes,
talk.
yes. What does cannabis for wellness look like for you? And you just said, good night's sleep. That's
Yep, good night's sleep. And then I remember the rest of your question here. It's like at the end of the day, how do we ensure that folks are able to get sound quality information through our work? And to us, it's something that keeps us up at night. We want to make sure the Cannigma continue to be known for reputable, trusted information and translation. So again, we have ideas and plans for what we want to be publishing and increasing in publishing over future months and years, but we're really trying to listen to the community and listen to our stakeholders. So when you and Elizabeth approached us, said, we'd like to add our voice into the mix, holistic caring, the green nurse, Bloom, we're like, here's a trusted voice in the industry. And we're trying not to get in your way. And so as you notice, most of what you publish, we trust what you're writing. Others provide great feedback. And we just want to be a conduit to the community and the community to be a conduit back in sort of a call and response way. Good feedback allows you to even tailor your message further.
Yes, thank you. And so I'll just pipe in real quick and just say, part of what we write about is based on, we get questions that people are asking us all the time. And so what I decided to do was start writing on those and looking for the research to substantiate it and the patient stories that, because we've taken care of, gosh, Elizabeth and I have been doing this for 10 years each, and we've taken care of over 6,000 patients. That's a lot of using cannabis as medicine, teaching them how to use it therapeutically for wellness, for healing purposes, to bridge the gap from what conventional care is, and bringing. And so what we try to do is story tell. So bring, discuss the disease, bring in the research, bring in the actual story of how a patient used it therapeutically and how it's different. So, you could have, same two patients, the same two diagnoses, they'll be taking two different things, have two different care plans. And that's okay, because everyone's endocannabinoid system is just a little bit different. So we like to bring in, real world evidence along with the research and storytelling, to try to make an impact to help people understand this in a way that just makes sense so they can digest it and then they can feel comfortable making a decision whether to try it or not. Jim?
Yeah, similar on, we really want to promote wellness, but we want to do that in a trusted fashion. And that's really what the goal of the Cannigma is. And talking about that, there's a lot of so many great attributes in healing and being in medicine. But I'll give you just an aside that's another wellness story. My brother is a state trooper in New York. And if he's called out on a domestic disturbance, it's one of the worst calls that a policeman can get. And he's told me if he goes and alcohol is involved, it's going to be a real issue and a real problem. He goes, if it's cannabis, it's actually so much more peaceful and so much better. And so there's so many things we can talk about. Replacing alcohol with microdosing of cannabis is wellness in itself.
Completely 100% agree. We have an endocannabinoid system that knows how to use this plant. And I never, ever want to alcohol shame anyone, but this is just a great educational point to make. Alcohol is toxic to all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems. The minute we consume alcohol, what happens is our body gets nervous and we start to produce more cannabinoid receptors, actually seeking to protect our brain. How's that? How's that for some knowledge? I was blown away when I learned that. So cannabis, on the other hand, supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems to help the body make decisions to either do something or not do something. Consider the eat, sleep, relax, forget, protect phrase that was coined by endocannabinoid researcher Vincent DiMarzo. He stated that the endocannabinoid system has a stress recovery factor in our body. We create endocannabinoids upon demand to keep our body in systemic homeostasis or in balance. And so supplementing with plant phytocannabinoids can help mimic the endocannabinoids that we make internally. And a lot of us don't make enough of our own. And that is why there is such a thing called an endocannabinoid deficiency. And so we love to educate on how to take care of this most important system, because it is the primary system in the body that regulates all 11 other organ systems and our immune system and all the other neurotransmitters. So it makes sense as a clinician and as clinicians going forward to know the different things that support that endocannabinoid system and those things that don't. We know that cannabis and hemp products can support it, but lifestyle as medicine can actually support the endocannabinoid system just as much. So it's really important that we cover all of that. And when we're working as nurses, that's what we do, is we teach people, cannabis and hemp is great. We love it, but there's other things you can be doing that's going to make that cannabis and hemp actually work better in your life. So again, what do you think people should look for? So this is another important question, and we cover this all the time when we're working with patients, when they are choosing products. So when you think about, choosing safe, quality products, and we'll take a tour of your marketplace when we pull up the screen at the end, but what do you think people should look for when they're choosing products? Nick, you can go first.
I think it's trusted products. You know where your product comes from, you know who makes the products, and you're able to just really have that trust. And I believe at the Cannigma, over the years, the products that we've been able to highlight to community members, products such as yours with Bloom and others, there's just a trust behind the product. And it comes back to the I don't know, the physician's credo: first, do no harm, and then really from there, it's just really taking it up a notch. So we just want to make sure that as much as possible, I think it's cannabis in its most unadulterated form. We know where the cultivation has happened. We know what's gone into the product, the care, and it's never a perfect journey, but it's one that we aspire to. It's just really be having standards and knowing who's behind the products, what went into manufacturing them, and really having trust. And then also, as much as possible, trying them ourselves. That's the fun part of the job.
Yeah, there you go. Sampling.
Over to Jim. He's been leading our marketplace since we took over the Cannigma, and just really proud of the job he and the team have done.
Yes, it's lovely.
Yeah. Well, my view is that, as Nick said, it's really about trust and ensuring that, one, you've done a little bit of homework to know what you're looking for. And, that's coming on to what you provide to nurses, Sherry. They can give advice on what people should try. And then, there's been a lot of problems in the regulated market for cannabis. But one of the best things that comes from the regulated market is the compliance, the testing, and everything else. So
Yes.
if you're going to be going out and buying, do it in a regulated, compliant type of environment. Don't go to the black market.
Yes, completely agree. And so, Elizabeth and I have been vetting cannabis products, gosh, for a long time. We have what we call the Green Nurse Stamp of Approval. And it's basically, looking at, cannabis products or hemp products, making sure it's coming from the flowering strains of hemp or cannabis, making sure that it's lab tested for purity, potency, contaminants, terpenes, cannabinoid profiles, residual solvents, good business manufacturing practices as possible, GMP if possible, making sure that business practices are good, there's transparency on the website, that there's good customer service, that they're not making false claims, and really leading with integrity, and that's what's really important too. So, there's a lot of products on the market. Elizabeth has, and I have a saying, people are making great medicines, people are selling great medicines, but no one's truly interpreting how to use cannabis as a medicine. And that's what we do clinically as nurses. So again, what have you noticed? So the Cannigma isn't just in the United States. You guys are a global platform. So this is what makes it even more exciting. So we're going to talk a little bit more about your global affiliations. And my next question is, have you noticed any big differences in how people use cannabis around the world? Nick?
For me, no, I don't have a lot to add to that question, honestly. The one thing I will notice is that, the cannabis is a global medicine. Each culture is different, and there are different cultural uses and nuances when it comes to cannabis. All I can say is it's a travesty when you go to a country and cannabis is treated like one of the worst crimes in the world. I went on a 10-week trip around the world this year, and to have the luxury to live and work in the United States and in other countries where it's starting to become legalized, and then the other countries where it's deemed one of the biggest sins in the world, is just really, it's not good. So you just, by traveling and looking internationally with that mindset, you see the injustice and the stigmas and the imbalance that still exists in the world. And so that's one of the things we can work on. And I guess the only other anecdote is, as you mentioned, we didn't really realize this when we took over the Cannigma, but there's multiple websites around the world, Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, and German. And it's been amazing to see, in particular, the traffic from the German site. And so there's a lot of interest in Europe and in Germany. And we've been working to try to understand that better ourselves. Jim's taken the lead on that for our team. And then also just try to be of service in another language. And so, we're a small team. We're working to turn the Cannigma around and revitalize on limited resources. But what we're seeing is that there's a global demand for what we're doing. And so we're really trying our best to find unique partnerships and make it continue to uphold the resource that the Cannigma is for some of these other international contexts, such as Germany.
Yeah. All right, Jim.
Yeah, and it's exciting to us to have the Cannigma in other languages, so we can provide this information on a global basis. as Nick said, the site in Germany is very interesting. What we're seeing there is that people want to use cannabis in their cooking. And that's the most researched pages on the Cannigma from Germany is how do I cook with cannabis? And that was just an interesting facet that we came.
Nice.
Yeah. And so there's demand for our cookbook. I don't know if you've seen that lately, but we have actually a cannabis cookbook for sale on the site. There's a recipe finder. Chefs like Lori Wolf contribute recipes and many others. So yeah, like Jim said, that's a great point. There's just a lot of demand for actually reducing the middleman a little bit and people growing at home. We also have a cannabis cultivation guide, not only a cookbook, and then making your own medicine and food and ingredients from your own cultivated cannabis or cannabis you acquire from trusted sources. So I think that's one thing that we're seeing in other contexts and just in general is this is a plant. You can grow your own indoors or outdoors. And guess what? Not only that, but you can cure your own, dry your own, harvest your own, store your own, and make your own products, most any type. So it's really neat to empower people in that way.
Amazing. Really good. Okay, so let's talk about new trends or discoveries. What new trends or discoveries in cannabis are you most excited about? And so I'm wondering if you guys have any new information that I don't know about.
Yeah, I'd say just off the cuff, we're really trying hard because when we took over the Cannigma, a big focus was just to make sure the current platform and community and articles that existed stayed online for folks and continued to be a resource. So that's been much of our job. We actually weren't writing a lot of our own articles. We were relying on contributions from folks like you, just really trying to stabilize the ship here. Now we're getting to the point where we've actually brought on Patrick Anderson. Patrick was a writer at Project CBD. I believe you've met him recently. He's just a quality cannabis leader. He lives and breathes the plant. He knows the science. He also knows the streets. He also knows patients. He's run a dispensary. He's designed products for Care by Design. He's a real genius in the world. And so together with Patrick, Jim and I and others, we're starting to not only do our own direct research, but also understand what the trends are in the field. We just had an article come out about cannabis and the biome, for example. You talked earlier about transitioning from alcohol to less toxic substances. So how to transition from out of alcohol into a lighter, more health-friendly lifestyle through cannabis and other plant medicine. Plant medicine in general, not just cannabis, but the world of many plants that are medicinal and herbs. My wife has studied herbalism her entire career. So I think just really plant medicine, trends like the biome, performance, human performance. So we're getting ready to release programs for cannabis and elite athletics and just how to optimize human performance with cannabis. The human hormone system, how cannabis can interact and support hormonal changes that are going on in midlife, menopause, andropause, the male version, and other things. So we're excited. We're currently developing a plan for future topics we'd like to focus on that consumers are searching for, that we're also passionate, interested in, and we'll have more information in that soon. But those are some of the anecdotes that we're finding now, and I could go on and on. See if Jim has anything to say here that I may have missed.
No, you cover it well, Nick. The thing for me that's really starting to open up is beverages. In California at Cannacraft, we had a joint venture with Lagunitas, who's now owned by Heineken, very much want to be involved in beverages because they know people are going to transition there. The thing about these cannabis beverages, there's no calories, right? And there's no when you wake up after a night of heavy alcohol, you're out of it, right? You've got the hangover. You don't have that with cannabis beverages. And what's recently happened in the hemp beverage category, where now the products are being sold by people like Target, by Circle K, it's becoming commonplace. And at some point, the alcohol people, as toxic as they are, they're going to come in, because they're seeing that their market share is going to erode.
I'm a big fan of beverages for sure. I think that they're great. They're easy. water soluble. There's a couple of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. We just got a sample of a beverage and a pump with CBD and CBG, and you can just, one pump is 50 milligrams of CBD and 25 milligrams of CBG. And you can't taste it at all. You can put it in your drink, hot or cold. It's great. And then they do the same thing with THC. They do make water soluble THC drops. And then there's just the drinks itself that you can just purchase, already done. I'm one that likes to make my own. So I love like being able to get the drops and to be able to, if I wanted to have like a lemonade, or if I wanted to just have a seltzer with a little bit of lemon in it, and just to create your own mocktails without alcohol, is just going to be so life-saving, because there is a therapeutic benefit in the cannabinoids that you're consuming to begin with. There's no therapeutic benefit in alcohol at all. So it's just like night and day. It's like health promoting versus health depleting, right? So these beverages are health promoting instead of health depleting. And so I'm teaching people how to use them appropriately. And I've seen a huge push even. I mean, I took care of a family once that was using water soluble CBD products, certain amount of drops for mom, certain amount of drops for dad, certain amount of drops for the kids, and then certain amount of drops for the animals. So the whole family had one tincture that they were using in different ratios for each different person, particularly for whatever they needed. So how amazing is that, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very cool. So very excited about the rollout in that. So one final questions, and then we're going to take a tour. What are your thoughts on psychedelics and cannabis, the intersection of cannabis and psychedelics? Because I know that there is a crossover. Some of the psychedelic medicines can be used to support the endocannabinoid system. Cannabis can be used to support the psychedelic journey, whether people are microdosing or macrodosing. What are your thoughts on that trend and the evolution of psychedelics on the Cannigma platform?
That's a big question, and one that I've thought about. And really, I'm in Montessori school on that question.
Yeah.
What I do know is historically, whenever the Cannigma has published articles on, say, mushrooms or mycelia or other types of herbal remedies or other plant medicines, there's a huge overlap in the readership and a huge interest. And so I think that's really what I have to say at the moment about that, is just that it's all plants or fungus, and there's a lot of interest, and there's so much untapped knowledge out there, not only for scientists who've studied it their entire career, but especially for people like me. I'm just a baby on the topic, but definitely a lot of interest. And we're actually considering what would it take to create a trusted section of the Cannigma completely devoted to plant medicine and some of those intersections you talked about, because the early feedback we've received from some of these articles, and even some of the products, there are some mycelial products promoted on Cannigma and things, has been overwhelmingly positive. And I think people who are truly about healing and the medicinal and spiritual benefits of this plant, they're not focused just on one plant. They want to understand the myriad of options in nature's pharmacy, and cannabis is one of them, and there are many others. And so, and then the interactions are just, that's another level in and of itself.
Yes. Yes. Jim, do you have anything to add?
I think that Nick covered it pretty well. We got a lot to learn here, but certainly a lot of interest from our readers.
Yeah. Excellent. Good. So there might be another article that I'll be working on for you guys, is the intersection of cannabis and psychedelics. I think that might
love
be
that.
fun. Yeah, to work on for sure. So let's take a tour of the website. Let me just pull it up. And one of the questions that I had for you guys to think about is, for someone new to the Cannigma, what's the best place to start? So let's pull that up, and we will get that shared, and we can talk about that. The Cannigma, here we are. This is the Cannigma page. You guys should be able to see this full screen. Right.
First thing I just want to acknowledge, we, again, through the email newsletters and the website and the power of the community that have formed, that is what inspired Jim and I to try to keep this beautiful platform alive. Literally millions of dollars went into building what you see here today. And so many people, hundreds of people over the course of, I think, 7 years, put their heart and soul and their livelihoods into creating what you see today. Almost 2,000 peer medically reviewed articles, recipe lists. Jim and I are still learning what's on the website. There is so much. And so just hats off to the advisors, the prior leaders, the community members, the contributors such as yourself for what's being built. This is a world-class website, and part of our job is to keep it alive, right? It's a big engine that's been built. And so for me, I love that we've changed very little. Cannabis 101 for the beginner. If you're a beginner, I would click right there. Strains, science, recipes, how-to, products. There's a medical perspective. And we've recently added, you can see services, education, merch, and marketplace. And so I'd say it's a choose your own adventure. What are your interests? What are your needs? And then I think it's a pretty navigable website in that regard. Having built many in my life and career, I'm just really find it very user friendly. I hope you agree, but
oh, absolutely.
there's a lot to discover, and sometimes that's kind of the fun of it, right? Why not have a little bit of tincture or take a toke on a little doobie and then just go on a journey and see what you discover. We're doing that every week. There's just so much to offer here.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. So Cannabis 101, strains, science, recipes, how-to, products, medical, services, education, merchandise, and marketplace. That is a lot. You guys have an amazing website.
Check out the merch real quick.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife, one of her labors in love recently is helping us launch the merch site for the Cannigma merchandise. If you click on that green button, it's hot off the press, recently launched this week. And one of the goals is, we want to keep our content and information free for users. And so we'd love the support, but we've also designed some fun merch right there. Almost there. There you go.
Got it. All right. Merch.
This is hot off the press, a new shop, Cooking with Cannabis. And then, come on, wouldn't you love to be wearing your own grass-fed hoodie there, Sherry, and keep
That's
scrolling
amazing.
down.
Grass-fed.
Oh, come on. Jim soon will be putting on this holiday sweater as our knitted cardigan for Hourigan. And then we have Chronic Optimist. You scroll down. We just love to play with words. Motivation. Here's one for you, maybe as a gift for your sweetie. Talk terpene to me. Herb your enthusiasm. And hi.
I like it.
And look at this
Hi.
We're having so much fun, and this is a way, especially for the holidays, that people can have fun themselves. It would be highly likely that a purchase of this mug would deliver benefits to your life. And then it's also a great way to support the Cannigma, because we're trying to keep this information at the base level free for users. And so that's a big part of the puzzle, is how to keep the lights on here. And so we're excited to launch the merch store. And so if people want to have a little fun or send their friends a gift that they will never forget and actually be highly likely to be talked about, it's our fun merch store. So thank you to Jess Flood from Vienna's Good for putting this out there and making it happen. And we're excited to sling some hoodies and some sleeveless Christmas sweaters.
Excellent. So now I'll go back to the page, and then we have the marketplace, right? We'll check that out.
I'll let Jim take it from here.
All right, Jim, this is you're on.
Yeah. What we did here is part of the ways that we can generate revenue is through an affiliate program where we promote a product and someone will go to someone else's site to actually get the fulfillment of that. What we decided to do on the marketplace is take all of these products that are dispersed throughout the Cannigma site itself and pull it into an easier way to shop. So you now see categories, and you can go into these categories and buy certain products directly, or you click through to another site where that fulfillment happens. So we felt that this was a way to make some revenue for the company, but also to make it easier to shop for our readers.
Beautiful marketplace. I love it. And it's all categorized. You can search for product strains and brands, flower, pre-rolls, vapes, edibles, topicals, tinctures, soft gels, beverages, and then the top trusted brands. Amazing work. Love it.
Thank you.
And then the other thing you have here is we have the education section, which is fun for professionals, for patients, for businesses.
There you are. And that's our goal there for education is to have another category where to take workshops, presentations. You deliver amazing educational presentations, for example. And so for our partners, we want to be a one-stop shop for the best of the best educational learning opportunities. And so we're just getting going with that. And then same with services. If you click there, we've got an amazing partner that I'm actually co-owner of called Epic Studios. And with Epics, we're launching Cannigma Creative. So it's a one-stop shop for any cannabis or hemp or related plant medicine brand to basically have access to an integrated set of studios, digital web, filmmaking, content, storytelling, and branding and design. And so we've really recently launched this too. So if any businesses out there needing support from a reputable organization that's done great work with all of the brands you see here, that's what we're offering. And this is the start of services. And then we want to be able to offer any type of service and business listing to reputable business leaders such as yourselves under that drop down as well, a business listing service. So I think there's many businesses in our network, and we want to offer them services. It's another way for us to keep the lights on too. So this is an example of some of our work.
Excellent. Amazing. Okay. And then we'll go to medical. I love this little tab here. This is for, gosh, you can search conditions. Look at this, alphabetical all the way, every condition you can think of. You've got articles written on that. And then products, different product articles, how-to articles, gosh, use, consume, make, analyze, the recipes, the science, the strains, and then the 101. And this is where we would have people start if they were new to cannabis as medicine.
And can you believe this was about ready to go under, and actually this beautiful platform might not be in existence now. And not just because of us or Jim, but a wide community of stakeholders came together, including yourselves, to help keep this beautiful platform going. I don't think there's another site on the planet that has this much quality, trusted information. At least I've yet to find it. And then a really good sign too is in talking with so many people over the last year that may have not have heard of the Cannigma, but so far, anyone who has a cannabis question that puts in a search, they find something of use, even if it's a recipe for cannabis ice cream. I've not heard of anyone not finding something of value for a question they have, and that's super rare these days.
Yeah, your platform is amazing. Elizabeth and I are very grateful that we connected and that we're writing for you and we're part of the platform, and we hope to expand the Cannigma into something more magnificent. And we're excited to be with you guys and be part of the team. So thank you for including us. Very exciting. This was a great show showcasing the Cannigma. I wrote a blog. The guys answered some questions and I've got a blog. So please make sure you click on the blog. All the links to the Cannigma website, to their shop, to their merch shop, to their marketplace is all there. So please click on the link and take a visit and a tour of the Cannigma. And any last words before we close out the show?
I just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Jim and I personally, as well as from the Cannigma, for the work you've done to contribute to our community. But also, I just think more broadly, it's leaders and humans like you with a true passion for the plant and an infectious enthusiasm for the movement. And it's incredible. You know, I work in multiple industries, multiple businesses and projects. I truly believe that the work of folks like you is crucial to this movement. And each day that you send in an article or you share your perspective, I'm just amazed not only by your knowledge, but your infectious enthusiasm for the work. It's just really inspiring. And we just really want to appreciate you for your monumental contributions to this community and this industry. It's really incredible. And that's what draws Jim and I to want to partner with you, because it's so motivating and it's so good for our world and community. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that acknowledgement. I really, really appreciate it. Jim, how about you? Any final words?
Yeah, I would just say, again, similar to Nick, really appreciate all that you and Elizabeth do. Thank you very much. Hats off to you guys.
Thank you. So this has been an amazing show, Green Nurse Podcast, Living Your Best Life with Nick and Jim, the owners of the Cannigma. Again, visit the show notes for all of the links so you can visit. And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It is truly all about living your best life and helping others do the same. And we're going to end with a video, one of my favorite videos on hope, inspiration, growth, and healing. See you next time.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And you know, the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses Group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.